with the first overall pick, the Washington Wizards select AJ Dybantsa, forward from BYU. Exactly what I said in my video talking about the Trey Young deal. We got a little bit to talk about. Hello, everyone. My name is Hunter Simon, aka That One Announcer Simon, and another Wizards video. I know I went from a couple months without making a video, and now I'm back to back videos about the Washington Wizards. That's just how much hope I have in these Washington Wizards teams. Anyway, the NBA draft was today, and the first overall pick was the exact person I wanted the Wizards to draft in AJ Dybantsa. And we got the guy. I got my man. It's perfect. AJ Dybantsa is exactly what this team needs. Now that Trey Young also didn't make a video about it, but I probably should mention it now. Trey Young, I mentioned, was going to get paid for a multi-year contract, and it ended up being a 4-year, 212 million, meaning he's actually making more money on this new contract per year than the player option, which is a little crazy to say, but that's how much this of future the Washington Wizards have. Now, let me just talk a little bit about Dybantsa. Let's go back. The main focus of the video is AJ Dybantsa. See, my greatest thing that I was picking up on Dybantsa was Dybantsa is a huge guy that, as a freshman, you don't usually see these guys that are freshmen that are also so mature for their age. I know I'm saying that as a sophomore in college right now, but really, you don't see these guys as mature as they come. The only guy I've seen be that way are the generational first overall picks, and I personally thought that AJ Dybantsa was one. Cooper Flag was one last year. Dybantsa's the next one. Now, I believe the very common comparison that Dybantsa has is to Jalen Brown. And to be brutally honest, that's what the Wizards need. They just need a Jalen Brown. They don't need they don't need the next LeBron James. They don't need anything of the crazy sort. But I think a young Jalen Brown, that that's comparable. That's a great thing for the Wizards to have got. Now, first overall pick, I am reading from ESPN, so if you can see a little reflection in my glasses, I am reading from ESPN. So ESPN's pre-draft analysis says Dybantsa has elite positional size, strength, and movement skills. He thrives attacking downhill in the mid-range. Also in the draft, they were mentioning that he also is able to get the shots he wants. He plays through contact, he draws fouls, he goes through every part of a mature game that you want, and he can shoot threes. Really, in the modern game, his build is perfect, and he's so mature for his basketball age. He's coming in as a rookie, yet he's shooting better than a lot of veterans nowadays. He's taking better shots. Now, his weaknesses are, quote, at this stage, he doesn't impact the game much without the ball in his hands. He We have Trey Young, who is a main ball handler. So it is a little concerning to hear that. But if really Dybantsa just keeps growing and developing, that isn't an issue anymore. So, but AJ Dybantsa, the verdict that they had, viewed as the potential first overall pick since his freshman year of high school, Dybantsa managed to exceed expectations at BYU, leading D1 in scoring, which I believe the ESPN, not ESPN, the NBA draft did mention that that is one of the first times ever that a freshman led the nation in scoring. And you're saying that this guy isn't a generational player? You're saying. And shooting 51% on the field and just kept improving. He reminded teams of how special his offensive toolkit is, trajectory facing towards somebody of Kawhi Leonard or Jalen Brown. So let's just go through what I think about the team. AJ Dybantsa I think was the perfect fit, but also the perfect player because that's exactly what we needed. We just needed another man to fill that middle spot. And right now we have a team built on Trae Young being the main ball handler, Dybantsa at small forward to kind of be that offensive wing that we needed, Anthony Davis as a veteran defensive power forward, Alex Sar as the world's greatest stretch big for the modern NBA. And of course, world's greatest, that's hyperbole, but hyperbole. But still, having this guy who's able to kind of be the position that you exactly need, great. But then on also you could say on shooting guard, it depends on what they do, but there are guys like Keyshawn George who played a lot of time at small forward, but I would imagine he could probably play some shooting guard. You have a guy like Bilal Koulibaly, who's extremely a defensive sided player. You have Trey Johnson, who's an extremely offensive sided player. And that's also not even going into the unsung guys, like the guys that if you're not a Wizards fan, you would somehow say that that's ball knowledge. Like a Jameer Watkins, you have a Leaky Black. Yeah, I don't know why I blanked on his name. But you have these guys that can fill that two guard spot and be great. Will Riley. I almost forgot Will Riley. That's crazy. And then guys also on the bench, also mentioning Juju Reese. Really loved how he was going on. Tristan Vukovic. We have a team now. We do. And depending on what also happens in the rest of free agency, I would imagine if we are going to try and win this season, I think they would probably sign someone else. Depends on what the coach is thinking, but I will say this team isn't a bottom five roster anymore. We've, I'm putting it very straightforward. We have been a bottom five roster for the last couple of years. It's, again, nothing against CJ McCollum, but when your best free agent signing was CJ McCollum, that was the only like guy that you brought in that gave positional and like actual team value is CJ McCollum. I don't think your team's going to win. When you have guys like actually needing to develop, he's good for a mentorship. He's not supposed to be your starting star of the team. He's not supposed to be the main guy on your team, but he was. For a good while, he was. So, over the last couple of years, it's been a bad team. But this upcoming season, with our young core, developing guys, we have our veterans now, we have our stars now. I am making a full prediction. This is a real prediction. The Wizards go from number 15 in the East to not just play in, but I think we sneak in barely outside of the play in and go to the number 6 seed. Because if you remember, just for some explanations for a couple people that may have not been following the playoffs, the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds all go into the play in tournament. Whoever wins between the 9 and 10 goes to play the loser of the 7 and 8. And then whoever does that gets the loser, the winner of the losers round goes to number 8, and whoever wins the 7 and 8 go to number 8. I think for how the East is turning out to be this year, I believe the Wizards have the chance to actually make the playoffs this year. Now, I'm not saying we would become the next Detroit Pistons. Detroit is crazy. The fact that they ever even turned around their team like that is ridiculous. Same with the Spurs. both of those teams really weren't. They were in the bottom five basement with us as but the bottom five basement. We've been there too long. They were teams that were in the basement, but now they're succeeding completely. The Pistons were the number one seed. The Spurs made it to the NBA Finals. I think that the Wizards. I'm not. Don't take this out of context. I'm not saying the Wizards are. They're gonna win the championship. I don't think, even with this roster, we need more development in that department before we make it to a finals. But I do think this team has enough potential to at least have a playoff berth, our first one since 21. And maybe we can get our first ever series win since 2016. Do I think they're going to make it past the second round? No, because that's how the top of the East is. But when the bottom of the East is so kind of weak, especially with this is just opinion, but I have multiple friends who are Miami Heat fans. After the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, where they sent Giannis, Bobby Portis for basically the entire Heat roster and draft capital, I don't really see how the Heat can really build a competitive enough team around Giannis to not have them be a kind of mid-tier playing team. But I mean, I think probably my prediction would be the Heat are number 8. So Pistons, Cavs, Knicks, those teams are all staying where they were. And then Boston, with a healthy Tatum, probably are way better than they were this year. I think Magic were another team. They haven't really done anything of value yet to make me think that they really are that much better than the projected Wizards. Of course, this is all based off of if everyone stays healthy and everyone develops how they're supposed to. But it is my opinion, and if my opinion's wrong, that's an opinion, buddy. That's what happens. But the East is looking kind of sad right now. Like I'm just gonna say it exactly how it is. When the teams like the Nets are not really doing anything to help themselves, when teams like the Bucks just accepted that they're going into rebuild, when the Heat are trading away all of their best players for Giannis, I am confident that the Wizards can actually do something this upcoming season. I think Dybantsa was the correct pick. I think he is the most skilled guy out of everyone. And I think he's the perfect guy for the Wizards. With a starting five of, this is my personal opinion, Trae Young, Trey Johnson, AJ Dybantsa, Anthony Davis, and Alex Sarr, this team is a number 6 in the East. Probably overall, I will be very realistic with this. Probably not, even if they're number 6 in the East, that means they're probably like sub 10. Like they're not going to be a top 10 team next year. I don't think we can go from 29, I think, because we tied with the Jazz. But because we had the tiebreaker, I think truly, I think we wouldn't be a top 10 team, but I think we could make it at least a competitive year to make it to the playoffs. That's been my take. I hope if you watch this far into the video, I hope you like and subscribe. If you have a differing idea of how the Wizards are going to be, how Dybantsa is going to turn out, what this roster is going to look like, leave it in the comments, please. I actually really want this type of discussion. Not arguments, discussion. I've been that one announcer, Simon. There's your NBA update. Until next time, peace.